Hi Stampers, it's Lisa. Welcome to today's Facebook and YouTube Live, where we're going to make an adorable card. And we're using some new products out of the new annual catalog. So you'll look at this and go, oh, I don't recognize those things. That's because they're in the new catalog that will go live on Tuesday. So let's get started making a beautiful card. Thank you to those of you who have been asking about my arm. I think I'm back to where I was before. It's all back up into my shoulder since I've gotten onto there's 3 different levels of the muscle relaxants and I'm on the highest one. So my arm is okay, my shoulder still hurts, but the shoulder's okay because then I can still work and make cards. So we're going to start out with a piece of cardstock, and I've got the wrong measurements face up, but this is regular, let me flip it over. Because I'm on the muscle relaxants and my brain is a mess, let's measure. How's that? 5.5 by 8.25. That's the part I missed. Okay, 5.5 by 8.25. And there's a reason for that, because we're going to score at 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because we want these as 1-inch increments that we're going to fold back and forth. That's going to make our hinge over here on this side. But we still want this to be 4.25. So that's why it's 8.25 by 5.5, because that's going to leave us with a standard size card that's going to fit in your envelopes. Okay, then we're going to do some cutting on that, but we'll get to that in a minute. Then we'll have some layers that will go on it. So I have, this one is 4 by 5.25. Okay, that's the regular layer for here. Then we're going to go on top of that with some designer series paper. This is the new Fresh as a Daisy, which is part of the whole Daisy suite. So this one is 5 by, 5.125 by 3 7/8. But you could make that your regular 4 by 5.25, and that would work just fine. Then we have this other piece of cardstock, so we're going to be using this to extend the card base. So this one is 3.5 by 4 3/4. Then I've got a little piece that's going to go over that. Same designer series paper. This one is 3 3/8 by 4 5/8. Oops. It's going to layer that way. Then we've got our front panel, which is 4 by 3, which makes this one 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. I know the 1/8 measurements are a little bit wonky. Everybody gets a little freaked out by those, but don't. It gets easier and easier when you're working with the Stampin' Up! Trimming tool, because you learn that each of these lines is 1/4 inch. Okay, and then when you have 1/8 inch, it's going to be halfway between 2 of these lines. So you'll be able to look up here, and there's going to be the little tick marks up there on the inches are actually every 1/16 inch. And I have a friend who makes cards in 1/16 inch. That I won't do to you, I promise. But occasionally we kind of need to do the 1/8 because it gives you that skinnier border. And again, if you don't want the skinny border, that's okay. You could take this 3 by 4 and you could make it 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and it'll still look fine. It'll just have a little bit bigger border on it. So that's that. Then we have a piece I cut using the new dies. I used these on Monday, and these are the Countryside Corners dies. And everybody knows how much I loved the stitched nested labels dies that we had a while back, and I was really upset when they retired. And I'm finding out a lot of the things I did with those, they were kind of pointy on the end, but what I did with those I can do with these. So I am happy that these are in the catalog. I didn't get the stamp set to go with it, but I wanted these because they're basic shapes. I can use them on everything. So I used one of those for the saying on the inside. That's going to be our inside layer. And then I went ahead and I die cut some of the flowers, and we'll put some of these together that will be used on our card. Another one of those things you kind of got to roll it around and see where it fits. But I cut the base in, orange is bothering me. I cut the base in Bubble Bath and then the top in Basic White, because Bubble Bath is another one of the colors used in this designer series paper. All of the Stampin' Up! Designer series paper is going to use Stampin' Up! Colors. And these look a little bit wonky to you because there's so many new colors in it. We've got our Wild Wheat, the Moody Mauve, Bubble Bath. I mean, there's a whole bunch of new colors that are coming in that you can order on Tuesday. So I've got those cut out. If you didn't want to do the die cut flowers, you can always stamp and then die cut them out. So that's what these are. We don't necessarily have to use these, but I wanted to show you an alternative because they are very pretty. And I just did the single stamping and then put them into the die machine and cut them out. But if you wanted to, you could color the insides as well. I use the outline stamp, but then they have an inside stamp as well. So you don't need to color, but if you wanted to, you could, or you could leave it white. They are daisies, right? Daisies have kind of this frilly kind of leaf, and they are very fine. So putting glue on the back of that intimidated me. So I went ahead and used adhesive sheets because I could put that on the cardstock before I die cut, and now all I need to do is peel off the backing, and they're going to be stickers, and it's going to be a whole lot less messy. So there's those. I've got some stems. Again, I use the adhesive sheet. I even use the adhesive sheet on these so that we could glue those on or as stickers. And then I've got a few leaves. So we'll set all these little things off to the side for a second. Hope I don't lose them. Man, that's ugly. Oh, and I die cut a center. So now that we've got our measurements, I'm going to go back to covering up that orange. Probably doesn't bother you nearly as much as it bothers me, but between the mess and the distraction, it's just better I cover it up. Okay. So here's our card. Now I said that we're going to need to do a little more cutting on this. And I want to keep this nice and simple for you. I don't want you to get confused. So I went ahead and there we go, drew on it to show you what I'm going to do. So what I did is I brought in my paper trimmer and I put it at 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to cut from that edge all the way up to the 3-inch line. Okay. Okay, then I'm going to move it over and I'm going to go to 1.5. But this time I'm only going to cut to the 1 inch. And I realize I have my trimmer upside down. If we were working correctly, it could go this way and you would be using your measurements on the side. There's measurements right there on the side of our trimmer. And I have a piece of tear and tape that I did not remove the backing off of so that I could read the numbers on this side, regardless of what color paper I was working with. So now that I have that, now what I want to do is I want to cut diagonal from the 3-inch to the 4-inch line. So we can do that with our paper snips. And that's going to finalize this. So this top piece will just fall off. Okay, then I'm going to do the diagonal between the 2 and the 1. Okay, now my pencil went a little heavy. That's okay. I wanted you to be able to see it, and pencil's always erasable, right? So if pencil marks help guide you and get you to where you want to go, by all means, use pencils. Okay, then I'm going to use my bone folder to make sure that I have burnished all of these edges so they're nice, sharp creases. Okay, and then I had said that these 2 layers here, the bubble bath and our daisies. This is Fresh as a Daisy Designer Series paper. Those are going to go on. So this is where my 1/8 of an inch comes in. So I've got my really skinny border. Again, you can use 1/4 inches if that skinny border is not important to you. You'll notice when I'm rolling the Stampin' Seal, I kind of end with my wrist flicked over a little bit because I want it to snap off high on the roller, because that's where it's going to grab when I go to do my next roll. And a lot of times if we just stopped and we picked it up, it's going to have that sticky little string. Can you see that in there? And we don't want that. And we certainly don't want it once it snaps off to snap off way back here. Oops. Because that's when you're going to need to advance it so that the next time I roll it, it's going to touch that adhesive. So it's just a little bit of a flick. Another thing you want to do when using this is to make sure that you keep this edge of it very, very clean. That will tend to gather little goobers that are sticky, and they're going to try to grab that adhesive that's on your roller, and we don't want it to. So if you keep this really clean, you have a better chance of it not unraveling on you. Now I went through the entire pack to show you all the patterns in this Fresh as a Daisy Designer Series paper on my video on Monday. So hopefully you got a chance to see that. That was a different fancy fold card. They're kind of this brush stroke on the back, just kind of a whitewash in various colors on one side, and then it's got the daisies on the other. Okay, so I'm going to add these as new layers, and so I want my adhesive just on this because I don't want any adhesive touching the inside of the card because I certainly don't want to glue it shut, right? And then I'm going to line it up with the bottom, and then I'm going to keep this folded and cram it into the corner because I want it to be as close to the edge as I can get it on this side, but I don't want it to interfere with the score line. So by keeping it, you know, bent a little bit as I shoved it in there, that helped me make sure that it was in, and then I lined it with the bottom. Okay. And I'm using more adhesive than normal. You do not need to use this much adhesive on regular cards. I usually just put a little, you know, maybe 1 inch in each corner, and it's plenty to hold it still. The reason I'm using so much on here is that this card's going to get a lot of movement. And that's the only reason why. Now, with the prior adhesives, or if you have tear and tape, if you have worries with it not sticking, if you burnish it with the bone folder on the back, it kind of warms up the glue and it helps it to stick. I haven't found that to be a problem, but if you want to be extra sure it's not going to come apart, that's something you can do. I know I'm not real sure about the wild wheat color either. That one, when it first came out, I thought that's kind of a, I don't know, baby poop. But I'm sure somebody is going to use it in a way that I had not thought of, and it's going to be gorgeous. So I got it anyway. I'm holding out hope that somebody's going to show me the light. Okay, then I have, I use the dies to cut out this little label. That's this one right here. And then I use these for those. And then here's our foliage, our stem, the leaf. This cuts out a little grouping of flowers. This one right here. So I like the die sets that have so much versatility and that you can stamp it and cut it out, or you can just cut it out and glue it together. And then the Cheerful Daisies, it's another stamp set that, again, you could stamp it as is. You can not stamp it and just die cut. I mean, there's so many combinations of how you could throw this together. I love it. There's going to be lots and lots and lots of great ideas out there for that one. Okay, then I want Moody Mauve because that's the main color I'm using here. So I'm going to ink this up, stamp in my label. Now, again, it's a new ink pad. So with new ink pads, you want to be sure you take a birthday candle or chapstick or something that you're going to kind of grease, call it grease, the edges here so that this slides back and forth easier. Otherwise, they're going to be very stiff because we want them to fit tightly so that they don't dry out, right? That's, and the more we use them, the more they're going to get broken in and they're going to be easier to use. But the idea of greasing them up a little when you first get them can be helpful. I've also arranged all my pads in my ink pad holder over here. I got one of those like Stampin' Storage where it holds the pad and let me see if I can mess you up here. It holds the pad and my re-inker. Sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy. There we go. So there's all my inks. And they're stored in rainbow order. And the rainbow order I used was the same one that Stampin' Up! Used in the new Color Coach. And then because it's a new order for me, I used a Sharpie and I numbered them on the edge so I remember where they go back in. For my refills, I used a 1/4 inch. Oops, I'm showing it to you on my desk, which is not there anymore. Sorry about that. I used a 1/4 inch hole punch and used the cardstock and a glue dot to label the ends for what color they are. And that helps too. This is really cool. This was the little pin that Stampin' Up! Sent me for my 10-year anniversary. That happened in February. But back to our card. Okay, I'm going to clean off my stamp using the piece of Simply Chamois because we do not want the ink to sit on there for too long. It will stain them. Staining does not affect the way that the stamps stamp. They still work just fine. It just bothers me. So I keep them clean. Let's go ahead and put our flowers together. I'm going to set the white ones aside. I'm not using those today. And then, like I said, I used adhesive sheet on the back of these. I'm going to be uploading the Color Coach to my website so you can print it out if you'd like. I'll add it to my tutorial store. It'll be free. And they're kind of about this size. And then they have little dots on them to be 3 of this color, and then it'll show you some coordinating colors that it matches well with. These are just swatches of the cardstock. I need to update this one. It's still got our old colors, but then I'm going to have these for sale in my shop as well, if that could be helpful to you. And don't forget that because the new catalog's going live on Tuesday, that's the date I'm going to be ordering up the paper shares. So if you want a little bit of each of the designer series papers in the new catalog, you can get a sampling, just a little 6x6 of each one, by participating in my paper share. So again, I'm kind of rotating this around to see where my petals line up. Oh, but I probably want to stamp in the middle. Why don't I do that? Hopefully I'm getting this in the right spot. Yes. How about that for lucky, huh? There is the center of that. This one's a little easier because it's on an edge. And I didn't do the dot in here. I didn't like the way it looked. I did it on the other one, and then I ended up covering it up. So I die cut the center to that flower. Yes, the chamois are in the book, and the chamois just use water. You get them wet. This is actually a quarter of a sheet. They come, you know, bigger. I was using it with my Stamparatus, and it's just easier for me when they're littler. The size that they are, they fit into, this is a different stamp set, but they fit into our stamp cases very well. So you could put it into one of your stamp cases so that it stays moist. And they're that big. And I can probably tell you where they are in the book in a minute. I don't have a book within arm's reach right now, but feel free to send me a message and I will absolutely tell you where those are. They are probably on the same page as the Stampin' Scrub. The Stampin' Scrub uses this mist, and then you would scrub on here and then scrub on here. So this side is wet and this side is dry. I prefer to use the Stampin' Scrub with my red rubber stamps. I don't, for some reason, it just works better for me, and probably because I've been using it since the 90s. But the other reason is that the Stampin' Mist Cleaner contains a chemical in it that will help condition your stamps so that they don't dry out. So thank you, Ginger, for asking that. So I'm just going to use these flowers to kind of make an array here. And then like that, they kind of just look like they're floating. And so in order to stop them from floating, I'm going to add the stems. And you can see how that kind of grounds them a little. Is that a good word for it? And then we can also adhere some of the foliage back there too. So see how easy the adhesive sheet makes this to put these on there? And there's no mess. I'm going to go ahead and put this down with seal because I want it to be thin enough to go through the mail without causing too much issues with their machinery. On a card with this many layers, you probably are going to need to do the non-machinable stamp. The post office has a specific stamp that requires hand canceling because when the cards get too thick or uneven or have bling on the front that may jam their machines, they want to hand cancel it. And I think they're up to almost $1 now to do that. So whenever I can get away with not doing the extra layers, I do. Okay, we can also, if you want, you can add a little bit of extra bling by just putting a little bit of wink of Stella in the middle. The Wink of Stella is a little pen that we sell that just gives a little bit of extra sparkle. And this comes in clear. And I've heard people say, well, other places have them and they come in all these different colors. Well, ours can be used in all different colors too. All you got to do is dip the tip of it into any one of our ink pads or a re-inker, and you will have that color Wink of Stella. And then as you use it, it runs through with the clear again and it kind of washes itself out. So there we go. So there's our little array of flowers. In the middle or in the back, we can put our saying, and I have not decided what I'm going to put on this yet. So I'm going to be brave and attach it before I stamp. I usually recommend that you do your stamping before you adhere, so that in case you make a boo-boo, you can flip it over and use the other side. But I don't know what I'm going to put in here yet. The front's going to have our little Oopsie Daisy. So I can go ahead and put that down. And then I wanted to make a bow to go on the front. So I'm going to bring in my bow maker tool. This is something my husband made for me, and everybody loved it so much they asked me if they could get one. So this is now in my store as well. But I'm going to take this white organdy ribbon, and you'll notice it is not in our new catalog, but it's going to be carried over in the online store. So you can still get it. It's just not in the printed catalog. That's going to happen a lot more and more, that there are things that, yes, you can get, but they're not going to be in the catalog. So when you're in need of something, definitely check with me and we'll make sure that we can get you what you need. But I'm going to wrap it around like what I would call a cancer ribbon with this one on top. And then I'm going to feed it through underneath, pull it up over the top, and then just tie a knot. And then the direction that I pull my little tails, if I pull it straight, my tails will go straight. If I pull them down, then my tails will go down. And then I just slip it off. And I have a perfect little bow. And then I suggest you have a separate pair of scissors that you use for ribbon versus what you use for paper, because they dull the scissors differently. So you will have better luck with both your paper and your ribbon if they each have their own scissors. And because this is material and it's kind of, not flat and even on the back, I'm going to use glue dots. Glue dots are a little thicker, and they allow us to attach things that are not flat. And there you go. There's our card. And if you would like this card mailed to you, you can enter yourself in the drawing by entering in hashtag prize patrol. That's the way that the computer collects your name, and it puts it into a wheel that we're going to spin and find out who the winner is. And then I will send you that card in the mail as soon as you give me your mailing address. I bought the colors years ago. They don't work the same. You bought which colors? I'm a little confused. I'm not sure what you mean by that. If I can help, I will. Okay, so I have, believe it or not, I have Monday's card. And we're playing with a new bundle once again. It's actually not quite a bundle, but it's a new set of stamps and a new set of dies. They kind of go together, but the dies, these Countryside Corners has its own stamp set. I didn't get that one, but I did get the coordinating one that had all of the sentiments, because you can always use sentiments. And we use the new designer series paper and our stylish shapes. And this is the Countryside Corners die that I cut in half and then put on the ends. And it's using new colors. You might have noticed that all of these colors are not in our current catalog. And they have Blueberry Bushel, Boho Blue, and then Misty Moonlight. So those are all 3 new colors in our new catalog, and I will demonstrate this one on Monday. And then on Tuesday, you get to order. Wink of Stella holders. I'm not familiar with those. Were they from Stampin' Up? I don't remember those. Okay, so hopefully everybody's put in hashtag prize patrol and we're ready to spin our wheel. I'm going to go ahead and put that up there on the screen and see who today's winner is. So there you go. Helene is our winner. Congratulations, Helene, for being today's winner. Oh yeah, definitely send me a photo. That would work great. Thank you. Helene, you know to go to my website, queenbeecreations.net, and then you're going to enter in the address bar /prize patrol. It'll throw you into a Google form where you can give me your address and I will mail that out. And I will see all of you back here on Monday to make this new card with new stamp sets, new dies, new paper, new colors, new everything. See you Monday. Bye.